It was supposed to be just another high-profile panel, a live televised global tech and ethics summit, hosted at Columbia University, with some of the biggest names in AI, defense, media, and politics. Among the panelists sat Elon Musk, flanked by two senators, a Nobel laureate economist, and a representative from the World Jewish Congress. The topic was AI, Truth and Influence in a Fragmented World. The audience was filled with press, diplomats, students, and donors. The stage glowed in blue LED light. The moderators moved from one pre-agreed topic to another: space policy, digital censorship, and synthetic intelligence. Musk was, for the most part, restrained. He answered with clipped precision, even a few jokes. It was going smoothly. Until it wasn't. A sharp question came from the audience. Not planted, not expected. A bold PhD student from Tel Aviv asked, "Mr. Musk, how do you respond to claims that your platforms, especially X and Starlink, have amplified voices hostile to Jewish communities?" The air froze. The moderator hesitated. Elon's lips parted slightly. He didn't give the canned PR answer. He didn't pivot. He leaned forward into the microphone, placed both hands on the table, and said, quietly at first, "Let me make something very fucking clear." The silence was absolute. Even the camera crew paused. "I don't take orders from lobbyists. I don't take money from media cartels, and I'm not here to appease anyone's narrative. You want to talk about influence? Let's talk about who really controls what we can say." Gasps rippled through the auditorium. The moderator tried to interject. "Mr. Musk, he continued. "Every time I question war, I get labeled. Every time I talk about peace, someone reminds me of my sponsors. Guess what? I don't have any. I fund myself. So if a lobby thinks they can shame me into silence, they can go to hell." The room didn't just freeze. It cracked. Cameras were still rolling. Social media clips were already forming. One senator looked like he was having a stroke. The WJC representative stood up. But Elon was calm. Angry, yes, but calm, focused, surgical. Truth matters more than approval. And if that makes me an enemy of the elite, then maybe that tells you more about them than about me. When the broadcast cut to a sudden commercial, viewers at home had no idea what just happened. But Twitter didn't wait. Musk Uncensored was already trending. And backstage, security staff were whispering to each other, "What the hell did he just do?" The silence that followed Musk's words wasn't just awkward. It was seismic. Camera crews froze. A producer behind the control glass gestured wildly, mouthing, "Cut to commercial." But the feed stayed live for another full 13 seconds, long enough for millions watching at home to register what had just happened. Elon Musk had just defied one of the most powerful political lobbies in the country, on live television. Back in the studio, the moderator, Charles Denton, a seasoned journalist with 30 years of broadcast experience, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His fingers tapped nervously on the cue cards in front of him, but the teleprompter had gone black. No one had prepared for this. "Mr. Musk," Charles began cautiously, trying to regain composure, "you're aware that statement may be seen as inflammatory by many." But Elon wasn't interested in backpedaling. He leaned forward, his voice low and sharp. "I'm aware," he said, "but I'm not here to entertain narratives. I'm here to tell the truth." In the control room, someone finally cut the feed. Too late. The moment had already gone viral. Clips flooded social media within minutes. Hashtags like Musk Uncensored and Live TV Shock trended globally. One tweet from an anonymous account simply read, "That wasn't a glitch. That was a declaration." By midnight, The video had been viewed over 70 million times. Edited reaction videos, commentary from influencers, and real-time political analyses spread like wildfire. Some praised Musk's courage, others condemned his audacity. But no one was indifferent. Backstage, as security escorted him through a tight corridor, Elon's team swarmed him with conflicting advice. You need to issue a statement. Immediately. Stay silent. Let the news cycle move. Elon, do you even realize what you just said? He paused, turned, and calmly replied, I meant every word. Meanwhile, in a penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park, a group of high-profile lobbyists watched the broadcast replay in stunned silence. Phones buzzed. Emails pinged. One man, older, wearing a tailored gray suit and a pin that hadn't been seen in public in decades, muttered, We have a problem. Back at the SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, the night crew worked as usual, until one of the engineers looked up from his console. Did he just declare war on the people funding half the tech industry? No one answered. They didn't have to. The network's control room was in chaos. Red lights blinked on the broadcast monitor, producers shouted over each other, and a young intern was frantically trying to rewind the last 30 seconds of footage. They had all heard it, every word. There was no cutting it, no delay long enough. Elon's outburst had gone live, uninterrupted, to over 14 million viewers across 3 continents. Back in the studio, the moderator, Charles Hanley, a veteran journalist with decades of experience navigating high-pressure interviews, was visibly stunned. He had just asked what seemed to be a benign question. Mr. Musk, how do you respond to critics who say you've grown too powerful, too vocal? He hadn't expected the Tesla CEO to pivot sharply, his voice cold, clipped, and razor-sharp. Elon had leaned forward, eyes burning with a look that could freeze steel. I'm not here to bow to anyone, he had said. Not to governments, not to corporations, and certainly not to any lobby trying to leash innovation in the name of control. Charles had blinked. Are you referring to? But Musk cut him off. You know exactly who I'm referring to. There had been a second, just one, where the room inhaled as one. And then, the words that followed weren't shouted, but delivered, with eerie clarity. I'm done pretending. If you think I'll roll over because a few billionaires behind velvet curtains feel threatened, you're mistaking me for someone who can be bought. I'm not for sale. It wasn't just what he said. It was the way he said it. Like a man who had crossed a line he could never uncross, and didn't care. For a second, the cameras caught a flicker of panic in Charles's eyes. The silence was deafening. Backstage, Linda Park, a senior network executive, was already on her phone with legal. Get PR now, and find out who's funding the ad slots for the next 3 weeks. If any of them pull out, we're screwed. But not everyone was panicking. In a dimly lit boardroom 2,000 miles away, a group of figures watched the broadcast in silence. Men in tailored suits, seated around a crescent-shaped mahogany table. One of them, a man known only as Mr. Lev in political circles, slowly reached for his glass of water. He didn't drink, he just held it, letting the condensation gather on his fingers. He said it, someone muttered. Mr. Lev didn't blink. Yes, and now the game changes. The production team, frozen in disbelief, glanced at each other as the live feed continued uncut. Producers in the control room scrambled, mouths agape, their fingers hovering over buttons they weren't sure they should press. But by the time anyone thought of cutting to commercial, Elon Musk was already leaning forward in his seat, his voice calm but unnervingly direct. I've been silent long enough, he said, his eyes locked on the camera. There are groups, not elected, not accountable, who manipulate the flow of information, dictate financial pressure, and shape public policy through backdoor influence. If we don't talk about it, if we don't say it out loud, then we're complicit. The anchor sitting across from him, a seasoned host named Michelle Dalton, looked stunned. She blinked rapidly, her hands resting stiffly on her lap. She was known for handling volatile guests, but this was uncharted territory. The studio lights burned hotter than usual, and you could almost hear the weight of the silence hanging between every sentence Elon spoke. "Are you referring to lobbyist groups?" she asked carefully, trying to pull him back into safer ground. "Yes. Specifically those who hide behind cultural shields to mask financial power plays. We have to stop pretending money equals morality," Elon replied, his voice unwavering. The chat room attached to the live stream exploded. Comments poured in, some in support, others in outrage, most simply stunned. Twitter began trending the phrase Elon Live within minutes. On the screen behind them, the SpaceX logo that had been calmly rotating now seemed like an ironic backdrop to what was unfolding. Backstage, Elon's head of communications, Victoria Rice, was pacing. She had seen Elon take risks before. She had drafted apologies, walked him back from remarks, managed firestorms of controversy. But this? This wasn't the same. This wasn't a tweet he could delete. And Elon knew it. "I'm not against any group of people," he added, almost as if reading from a script written in his heart. "But I'm against secrecy, against control disguised as concern. If you care about freedom, of press, of innovation, of expression, then you can't be silent anymore." Michelle gave a slight nod, her journalistic instincts torn between maintaining order and acknowledging the moment. "Mr. Musk, you know this will create a firestorm." "I'm counting on it," he said, then leaned back. The room remained frozen in time. Meanwhile, newsrooms across the country scrambled. His statement was being clipped, captioned, and analyzed in real time. Headlines were being rewritten mid-sentence. Politicians texted aides. Tech giants dialed lawyers. And somewhere in a shadowed office, a lobbyist who had once sat comfortably in power now picked up a secure phone and muttered, "He just started a war." Backstage was chaos. Producers rushed to their headsets, speaking in clipped phrases, trying to regain control of the live feed. Some wanted to cut to commercial. Others were frozen in disbelief. Elon Musk's face remained on the screen, calm, yet charged with something unfiltered, raw intent, maybe even rebellion. In the studio, the audience sat paralyzed. No one moved. No one even breathed too loudly. The weight of what had just happened had sucked all the oxygen out of the room. The moderator, a veteran political journalist, fumbled with his cue cards. He was clearly shaken. The last time a live guest had gone off script this dramatically, it had become a historical soundbite. But this was something else entirely. "Elon," the moderator finally said, voice tight. "That was unexpected. Would you care to clarify?" But Elon didn't let him finish. He leaned forward, voice lower now, but heavier, as if he was pressing each word into stone. "No more euphemisms. No more pretending certain conversations are off-limits because they make the right people uncomfortable," he said. "If we're going to talk about control, about who shapes narratives, about influence, then let's talk about it. Not with scripts, not with filters, but with truth." The room stirred. One man in the front row, a former senator, crossed his arms tightly, eyes narrowed. A woman 2 seats down started typing frantically on her phone. In the control room, producers argued about FCC violations and how much delay buffer they had left. But Elon didn't care. He stood up. No one elected the lobby, but they get to write the script everyone else reads. That ends today. Someone gasped. Another stood to leave. But still, Elon didn't waver. This isn't about any one group. It's about the fact that the most powerful decisions in our society are often made in rooms we never get to see, by people who never appear on a ballot. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm flipping the lights on. Then he turned and walked off the set. The cameras scrambled to follow him, but the screen went dark. In less than 90 seconds, Elon had shattered the evening's plan, ripped the veil off the most sensitive topic in American media, and walked away. Online, the moment detonated like a digital warhead. Within minutes, #MuskUnfiltered was trending worldwide. Networks scrambled to replay the clip. Analysts stuttered through urgent commentary. Influencers uploaded reaction videos before the stream even ended. But behind the scenes, something even bigger had been triggered. A phone rang in a glass-paneled office in Washington. A private jet rerouted over the Atlantic. And somewhere deep within a private server farm in Virginia, an access log blinked to life. Whatever Elon Musk had just started, no one was ready to stop it. The clip had gone viral in under an hour. Major media outlets scrambled to find context, spinning theories faster than their anchors could speak. Some claimed Musk had suffered a breakdown. Others insisted it was a calculated strike, an act of defiance against powerful institutions long accused of manipulating innovation through red tape and silent influence. Within hours, hashtags like #MuskUnfiltered and "The Room Froze" trended globally. Every platform from TikTok to Reddit dissected the moment. Memes spread like wildfire, but so did serious debates. College forums lit up. Think pieces were drafted at midnight. Newsrooms were split. Was this a visionary lashing out at corruption, or a tech billionaire finally cracking under pressure? And then came the silence. Musk refused interviews. Tesla issued no press release. SpaceX maintained its usual operations. The quiet only fueled speculation. 3 days later, an unexpected figure entered the arena. Journalist Andre Lichtenstein, a Pulitzer-winning correspondent, known for his deep investigations into political and corporate power structures. On his nightly broadcast, he simply said, "I've spoken to someone who was in that room, and what they heard after the cameras cut will change how you understand Musk's message." Social media exploded again. Andre continued, "What Musk said on live TV wasn't the most shocking part. It's what he said after, with the mic still barely picking up, that raised the stakes." Leaked audio, distorted and muffled, surfaced just hours after. Analysts enhanced it. One fragment stood out. "You can't own the future. You can delay it. But it's already here. And I'm not asking any more." Theories deepened. Musk wasn't just targeting a vague lobby. He was declaring war on a system, on anyone, any institution, that thought they could control the speed of progress. Inside Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink, morale shifted. Engineers worked with a new edge. Meetings were quieter, more focused. Something fundamental had changed. And in boardrooms across Washington, D.C. and Tel Aviv, phones rang non-stop. The question wasn't, what did Musk say? It was, what is he planning now? The aftermath of Musk's televised outburst wasn't just digital. Within hours, doors that had always been open to him began to close, quietly but decisively. An international tech summit, where he was scheduled to be the keynote speaker, suddenly postponed his session for logistical reasons. A European regulatory meeting he was supposed to join via teleconference sent an email. "Your input is appreciated, but we'll move forward without external stakeholders for now." But what shook the inner circle most wasn't what governments were doing. It was who stopped calling. People who had once texted Elon daily with questions, deals, rumors. They went silent. Executives from major tech companies began issuing carefully worded statements, distancing themselves from the unproductive tone of recent discourse. A prominent CEO was quoted anonymously. Musk may have built rockets, but this time he launched a missile into a diplomatic minefield. Inside Tesla and SpaceX, tension was mounting. Legal teams reviewed the live broadcast in segments, discussing implications. PR departments were overwhelmed. But Elon, he remained calm. Even as legal advisors pleaded with him to clarify or soften the intent, he repeated one line in every meeting. If you can't speak honestly in public, you don't deserve to build the future in private. Meanwhile, at a closed-door meeting in Washington, lobby representatives gathered. What troubled them wasn't just what Musk had said, but how many people online were cheering him. In less than 24 hours, hashtags like Elon was right and non-free speech or nothing were trending worldwide. Influencers, even some political figures, began aligning with his sentiment, if not his tone. And then came the leak. An anonymous source sent a confidential email thread to multiple news outlets. Subject line, "They planned to silence him." The thread included communications between lobby advisors and media consultants strategizing on how to reframe Musk as an unstable figure, more obsessed with provocation than progress. The leak changed the narrative. Now the question wasn't, should Musk have said that? But, were they trying to shut him up? Musk didn't post anything new for a full day. But when he did, it was just 3 words. Nice try, failed. The retweet count soared. When the segment ended, the host attempted to transition back to a scheduled commercial break, but her voice betrayed a nervous edge. The broadcast feed cut to black, but not before millions had seen what was unmistakably Elon Musk confronting power in a way rarely done on live television. Within minutes, clips of the moment were uploaded, remixed, and translated across dozens of languages. Musk defies the lobby was trending worldwide. Inside the studio, the silence lingered even after the cameras stopped rolling. Elon remained seated, calm, eyes focused on nothing in particular. The producer approached cautiously. "Mr. Musk, we, should probably get you out the back exit." He nodded without argument. Outside, a black SUV was already waiting. As he stepped in, his phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from SpaceX, Tesla, X, even from a few government contacts. Some praised him, others warned him, and a few were just ellipses, as if the senders didn't know what to say. Back at the White House, a different kind of silence filled the Situation Room. Multiple aides had already briefed the president. "Sir, it's spreading like wildfire. Every news outlet is cutting in. Even foreign embassies are issuing statements." The president leaned forward, brow furrowed. Did he just spark a global PR war? One of the advisors nodded gravely. "Sir, he didn't just name them. He challenged their influence. Publicly." Meanwhile, in a private residence in Tel Aviv, a senior media consultant sat stunned. "He did it," she whispered. "He finally said it. And now everything changes." Back at Elon's Bel Air home, X was watching the replay on his tablet, headphones on. May Musk sat beside him, her hand trembling slightly as she held a cup of tea. "He's never said it like that before," she murmured. "Not out loud." But there was no turning back now. The headlines exploded within minutes. Musk declares war on influence. Lobbyists in panic after Musk's outburst. Did Elon just start a political revolution? The media storm wasn't just national, it was global. Newsrooms scrambled for analysis. Stock markets wobbled. Politicians were either condemning or cautiously aligning. But behind all the chaos, something else was unfolding. Inside the upper floors of the Tesla HQ, a small team Elon had quietly assembled weeks earlier was now in motion. It was called Project Atlas. The idea behind it? A network resistant to outside manipulation, an infrastructure where information, funding, and technological development couldn't be redirected by unseen hands. "We're not burning bridges," Elon had said the night before the broadcast. "We're building our own." What most didn't know was that his outburst wasn't spontaneous. It had been planned to trigger this very moment. In a private conference room with no phones and no notes, the group of engineers, political advisors, and security experts worked in total silence. Maps of influence networks glowed on wall-sized displays. They weren't just targeting traditional lobbyists. They were mapping social media manipulation, corporate pressure nodes, and even misinformation pipelines. Elon walked in, calm as ever. "We don't play their game anymore," he said simply. "We write the next one." Meanwhile, members of the Senate and tech industry giants began receiving anonymous dossiers. Each one detailed specific patterns of influence, contributions, and manipulations, all sourced with undeniable digital fingerprints. "You wanted transparency," read the final line of each document. "Here it is." One senator reportedly turned pale after reading his. The moment had begun as a shout. Now it was becoming a system-wide tremor. The weeks following Elon Musk's televised outburst sent tremors far beyond the luxurious conference hall in Washington, D.C. The clip, though quickly taken down by the network, had already gone viral, circulating through encrypted group chats, reaction videos, global news broadcasts, and even deep-dive Reddit threads. The moment where Elon locked eyes with the camera and delivered his unscripted message to the unseen forces behind policy and persuasion had become more than just a meme. It had become a symbol of defiance, transparency, and in some circles, dangerous unpredictability. At Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink headquarters, staff morale split in half. Some engineers whispered in awe about the courage it took to speak truth to power on live television. Others feared what the backlash might do to contracts, partnerships, or even ongoing government cooperation. A few high-level investors pulled out. Others doubled down. But what mattered most wasn't in the boardrooms or war rooms, it was on the streets. In New York, students rallied outside Columbia University with signs that read, "Let them speak." In Tel Aviv, a group of tech founders released a joint statement praising open dialogue while cautiously distancing themselves from Musk's specific wording. In Berlin, graffiti on a subway wall read simply, "The room froze. We didn't." And yet, Musk stayed uncharacteristically quiet. He canceled a planned live stream, declined interviews. He didn't tweet. For 5 days straight, his account remained dark. Analysts speculated everything from a legal gag order to a complete mental break. But the truth was less dramatic, and somehow more telling. He was listening. In the days that followed the incident, Elon hosted a series of off-record meetings. Not with world leaders or tech giants, but with janitors, retired teachers, pediatric nurses, delivery drivers, and a former librarian. Each conversation ended the same way. Musk asked, "When you hear the word power, who do you think it belongs to?" The answers varied, but the pattern was clear. People were tired. Not of politics, not of disagreement, but of manipulation. Finally, on the 7th night, Elon logged back into X, formerly Twitter. He didn't post a long thread. He didn't share a video. He posted exactly 3 words: Still not sorry. Within 2 minutes, the platform nearly crashed. Headlines erupted. Supporters rejoiced. Critics sharpened their pens. But for those who had watched that room freeze during the broadcast, it wasn't about whether Elon Musk was right or wrong. It was about the fact that, for a moment, someone said what everyone else had rehearsed into silence. In an age of filtered statements and behind-the-curtain influence, one man with a microphone, a boiling point, and nothing left to fear had reminded the world of something dangerously rare. Unfiltered truth still exists, and it still makes people tremble. In a world shaped by silence, one moment of truth can echo louder than 1,000 speeches. Elon Musk's outburst wasn't just a statement, it was a spark. A reminder that even the most powerful rooms can freeze when confronted with honesty. Whether you stand with him or stand against him, one thing is clear. The conversation has begun. And now, it's no longer his voice that matters most. It's yours.